Our next speaker is Mr. Gary Thompson, now serves as Director of Project Business Development and Innovation for Global Capital Inc. in Pitch Deck 101. Over the last 15 years, he's pursued a career in real estate investment. To date, he has his eyes set on a career in real estate as a real estate investor in the private equity investments. He recently registered Global Capital Inc. that intends to provide joint venture partnerships, private equity investments, service to members of the private sector. Global Inc. Incorporated currently provides services in 1. Corporate debt management, corporate wealth management, personal debt management, personal wealth management. In the future, GCI intends to carry portfolios like assets management and private equity investments. Mr. Thompson believes that the right types of small businesses have tremendous growth potential once given the right support. They can be scaled to have significant impact on economic transformation. I present to you Mr. Gary Thompson of Pitch Deck 101.
Hi, Lexel. How are you? Great to be here, and thanks for that warm introduction.
You're welcome. Thank you. We definitely look forward to hearing from you in Genius Common, and I'll see you on the other side.
You got it. All right, I want to say hello to your audience who is viewing this program, Black Business Network from across the world. Today, I want to do a deep dive into a particular issue that many rising stars in businesses struggle with. Today, we see 20% of business startups fail in the first year. We see 50% fail by year 5, and we see only 10% survive after the 10-year life cycle. We at Pitch Deck 101 LLC, Global Capital Inc., and 10X B&M LLC, we decided to do a deep dive after many years of looking at these statistics, and that is to identify those reasons why many businesses are failing. And what we have seen was no surprise. However, just to highlight some of the challenges that we are seeing with small businesses today, they struggle to access critical human resources to move their vision forward. They struggle to access technical resources to move their business ideas forward, and they struggle to access the much needed capital to move their vision forward. Now, in spite of the fact that we know that they're struggling to access capital, the strange thing about it is that there are many financial instruments that is available. In fact, if you talk with private equity investors, you will realize that they have billions of dollars available in dry powder. And what do I mean by dry powder? It means that there are private equity investors who have capital that they want to invest now into businesses. They have the disposable income. They have monies that are sitting to invest in the right business. Now, the right business is what they are looking for. And what happens sometimes, we see that many businesses get started and you believe by just registering your business with the Secretary of State, you have arrived. But there are many more steps that you need to understand and cover in setting up your business in the right way. For example, in setting up your business, to set up the business to be fundable, it's not only about the Secretary of State. You need to ensure that you're registered with DNB, and you want to be certain that you have a PAYDEX score. You want to ensure that you have your 411 listing. You want to be certain that you have your SIC code, which is your standard industrial classification code. And again, we're seeing so many businesses are starting that you have never heard about the SIC code. You have never heard about the NACE code. And to set the business up properly, it is vital that you understand everything that I'm talking about. What we have done to help rising stars in business to navigate some of the rough terrains of doing business, we have just released this book titled Master the Sales Communication Process. It's a 9-volume book. We have only released 3 volumes. And to get access to this book that's going to help you to understand how to bootstrap to success, You can go to our website, which is pitch deck, PITCH dash in the center 101.com. When you go to shopping, you can press on the link books, and the books will be there so you can learn more about how to bootstrap your way to success because capital is available. Now, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to spend some time also walking you through some techniques that can be useful to you in your startup strategies and in bootstrapping your way to success. So, with the time available to me, I'm going to try to cover a number of topics. I will look at a concept that we call trade lines. I will help you to understand definition of trade lines. I will talk to you how to apply trade lines. We will look at some benefits of trade lines. And then at the end, I will have a call to action, time permit. Now, you would have heard me say at the beginning of this program that there's no shortage of capital. And by that, what I mean, there is debt financial instruments, there is equity capital, there is creative financing, there is hard money lending, there is credit capital. So there are various types of financial instruments. And as a rising star in business, you owe it to yourself to take the time to understand these type of financial instruments. Or if you don't have the time to learn them, at least members of your strategic, tactical, and operational team should have this body of knowledge because this is what's going to help you to get past the challenges that most rising stars in business go through when it comes to accessing capital. In the absence of capital, you can't hire the right people. In the absence of capital, you can't invest in visibility. If you're not invested in visibility, you don't reach your ideal clients, you don't make impact, you're not able to optimize your business potential to cash flow. You're not able to build confidence, trust, and credibility in the eyes of the public. You need money to help you accomplish all of this. So what I'm going to walk you through today is some strategic approaches that you can start to use to position yourself to start to access capital to move your vision forward. So the first concept that I want to talk about here today is trade line. What exactly is trade line? Now, trade line, there are three tiers to trade line. There is vendor credit, there is store credit, and then there is cash credit. But let me explain this further for those rising stars in business who need the much needed cash, the much needed capital to move their vision forward. Just before I get to this, I want to also emphasize this. Some of the top 100 companies in the world, they are leveraging trade lines, or at some point of the life of their business, they have been leveraging trade lines. For example, you have Walmart, and they have over 500 trade lines. You can leverage trade line either from your FICO, or you can leverage trade line from the business. Let's do a deep dive into this. Trade line, vendor trade line means that you are identifying vendors that may be aligned to the type of business that you want to get into. So let's take, for example, you want to do computer sales, or you want to do furniture. So you want to help new owners of homes to get new furnishing for their homes. This is the type of business that you perhaps see yourself doing. But you don't have the money to start this process. Money is not a challenge to you when you understand what is the vendor trade lines. Because with vendor trade lines, you're now able to go to companies like Target, like Walmart, like these various type of companies. And you're able now to take out what we call net 30, net 60, net 90. What this means is that they will open a line of credit to you. The line of credit can be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. The beauty of it is if one company gives you $20,000 and you have 5 companies doing this, immediately you have access to 100,000 in trade lines. If you have 10 companies that are doing this, you have $200,000 in trade lines that you can now use to access the products that you now want to resell. So these are hacks that you can use in bootstrapping your ways to success. The beauty about doing all of this also is that once you have the trade line, you can now also take all the goods the vendors have, and perhaps you can build out an e-commerce website, and you're driving traffic to your website, and you're having persons making their purchase. And guess what? Immediately you're able to leverage your line of credit to access those products and ship it off without paying a dime before that process begins. So there are smart ways in which you can get into business. There are smart ways in which you could cash flow optimize and position yourself to come into your greatness with business. So the beauty about leveraging trade lines is that whether it's a net 30, 60, or 90, for the life cycle of this trade line, meaning 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, once you're able to access the funding within this period and pay it back by the end of the date, you have zero interest to pay on this line of credit. Now, you can't do this with a bank, because if you go for a bank loan, from the time that you take a bank loan, it starts to accrue interest. All right, and you have to start preparing to pay those interests. In fact, the way it is set that sometimes you have to pay a percentage down. They may ask you for a 5% equity, or a 10% equity, or a 20% equity before the funds is released to you. In terms of trade line, you're excused from finding the upfront capital before you access capital, and it gives you tremendous leverage. Now, with trade line, it means that you have to use your line of credit at the vendor. At the vendor. Some may want to say that's a disadvantage, but I want you to see the advantage. All right, the advantage. The advantage here is that you're able now to access thousands of dollars in line of credit that you can now leverage to outfit either your physical space storefront or your online storefront with goods that the public can buy. And as you quickly resell this, you're generating income for the business. All right, massive amount of income you can also generate. As time progresses, get the book. I want to encourage you to get the book, and the book will fill some of the gaps that I'm not able to fill today because of the time allotted to me to speak to you. So get the book, Master the Sales Communication Process. Go to that website, pitchdeck-101.com. Look at shopping, go to books, and make sure you get a copy of the book, Master the Sales Communication Process. There's 3 volumes there. Just get your hands on them. So we're talking about trade line. So with trade line, the vendor credit, your line of credit must be invested with the store. Now, this is a process that we can set up for you in less than an hour. We have our experts in a couple of, half an hour, we're able to set you up to get these trade lines. We can help you also to get multiple trade lines. You go to the website also, you will see on my website, we have a number of those vendors who are there, and they're also ready to support you to access the funding that you need. So let's talk about another vendor. There's what we call vendor credit, but then there's also store credit. And store credit comes with added benefits, because with store credit, you are now able to access a line of credit, might be $5,000, $10,000. You duplicate this, it can amount to $500,000 or $1 million. It's possible. It's possible. The beauty about this store credit is that you have options now. It means that you are now eligible to spend money at the vendor, but because they're now going to allocate a credit card to you, you are now able to spend the monies outside of the store. So let us suppose that, yes, you want to outfit your virtual platform, your e-commerce or your physical store with these products, and you want additional cash, to do things in alignment with business, you will have this card that you can now leverage back into investing into the business overheads, into your operational expenses. So these are smart strategies and techniques that you can use to bootstrap your way to success. All right. Now, what I want to emphasize here, and the great book said, people perish because of the lack of knowledge. Why I'm doing this is because I want to help you to break free from perishing. If you don't have the information is out there. You either research the information or you get in contact with a consultant, get a mentor, get a coach, get a support community that is there to help you to move your vision forward. You don't have to do it all on your own. All right? Get a mentor, get a coach, get a supportive community that is going to cheer you on to success. The right mentor, the right coach, the right support community can save you stress, sleepless nights, and a lot of money. And they can accelerate your path to success. So let's get back to the trade line. With store credit, you're now able to spend money at the store, and you now have the card that you can spend those monies elsewhere. I'm telling you this because this is what we do all the time. We help businesses to access this, and we can help you too. All right. So do not make I do not have access to capital an excuse any longer. Now, this hack that I'm giving you, in the event that, let us say, is not the type of business that you want to do, what if you use this method as a smart way of generating income? And you take the income and you now leverage the profit into exactly what you wanted to do. Because this is a field that you can make massive amounts of income once you know what you're doing. And we can help you with that. We have the expertise on hand that can help you with exactly what I'm talking about. So in starting your business and setting up your business the right way, one of the reasons that you're going to have difficulty accessing capital is because your business is not set up properly. Now, everything that I'm telling you here is going to help you to get what we call a healthy Paydex score. You're building up your business profile. Every single thing that I'm telling you here, once you set it up properly, is going to help you to now start to build a healthy business profile that is separate from your personal profile. And this is what funding agency is looking for. You see, when you go to a bank to access money and there's no business profile, the bank don't know anything about you. So they immediately put you at a high risk. And because you're high risk, several things happen. One, they're going to deny you access to capital. And two, if even you get capital, you're going to get capital at a high annual percentage rate, APR. So everything that I'm saying here to you is going to help you to navigate that process. Get the book so you have this information. I can't fill out the gaps here based on the time that I have. Now, the third tier of trade line is what we call the credit lines. This is now where you have passed the test with vendor credit. You have passed the test with store credit. You take the monies and you pay it back on time, and you build up a healthy history there. So now that the financial institutions are looking at your profile and they're seeing that you have a healthy spending habit and a healthy payment habit, they now want to do business with you. So this opens up doors now for you now to start accessing credit from American Express, from DV, from Chase Bank, and those are the financial institutions. You are now able to, get funding from credit unions and these types of stuff. So these are all hacks. Again, we're talking to so many rising stars in business that have never really taken the time to study credit union and the significant role that credit union can play in helping you through your bootstrapping process, through your bootstrapping experience, so your business startup phase. So these are important things for you to really take the time to learn, apply, and master. So moving forward, you are in a position of strength to start to access the much needed capital to move your vision forward. Now, let me also lay some groundwork here. What are the pre-qualifications to access trade lines? What I would say is that your ability to access trade line is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to access to capital. And why do I say it is the lowest hanging fruit? I'm saying this because the pre-qualification criteria is minimal. As a US citizen, you just need your SSN. As a foreign national, you need your ITIN. Along with that, you're going for business. If you're doing this on the business side, you would need to have your EIN. And as you push negotiation, you need to also understand, a fixed address will help, a telephone number will help, but you also need to understand your SIC code and your NAICS code as you start to climb the ladder to access funding from the traditional financial institution, the bigger financial institution. You have now graduated vendor credit, store credit, and you're now coming into the real world now of finance. So this is a process that if you take the time to learn it, apply it, and master it, you can win. All right, you can win when it comes to accessing to capital. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to emphasize. It is one thing to access capital. So as you start to grow through your business startup and your bootstrapping phase, it's not enough to just understand trade lines. It's not enough to understand how to access it. One of the things that we emphasize a lot at Pitch Deck and Global Capital Inc. a lot is that you need to really take the time to understand financial instruments. And by that, it means that you must have a dynamic understanding of money and how money works, because you can get into a lot of trouble. And our role is to speak to you about these issues before the problem presents themselves, so you understand how to navigate the process. So what I'm going to talk about in the brief is some important steps that you want to learn and you want to apply and you want to master, or ensure that someone in your team understand this. And why am I saying this? Because again, we see many rising stars in business. You take a capital, all right, and then it becomes a bad debt. It becomes a bad debt because before you get the capital, you want the capital to do this. But now that you get the capital, every single thing else that is not supposed to be your focus is what you're focusing on. So that debt becomes a liability. And when it becomes a liability, it starts to affect you. First of all, it starts to affect your FICO score because you're paying late, you're not paying on time, you're not paying at all. So it starts to hit your FICO score and you start to get derogatory marks. And when you start to get derogatory marks, it starts now to undermine your chances to access capital. It's important to have a healthy FICO. You need to have 680 and above. There are many persons that we're trying to help to navigate the bootstrapping process, but because again, you're leveraging your FICO at a personal level, and the nature of business sometimes dictates that things will go wrong. And when things go wrong, you cannot reach your payment deadline. And when you do not reach your payment deadline, the credit facility raises a red flag, and it starts to hammer and damage your FICO score. And that, in a sense, undermines your chance now to start accessing, capital. Our advice is that you want to build up a healthy FICO score. At the same time you're doing this, you want to build up a healthy PAYDEX score. And as fast as you get your PAYDEX score up, you want to try as hard as possible to stop using your FICO if it's going to hurt you, and use your PAYDEX. The business can stand on its own, and the business can be built out in such a way that the business now can access funding, because the business now has its legal identity. As an LLC, as an S Corp, as a C Corp, the business has its identity. And that now can be leveraged now to help you to access capital. And the business side of things, you will be able to access significant more capital through the business side. But let me deviate from this just a little bit, because I want to really help you to understand financial instruments here a little bit. As you start to graduate through the vendor side, what's next? It's important for you to understand financial instruments, because each financial instrument have their own advantages and disadvantages. And if you don't know this, you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to paying higher interest rate, paying more than you shouldn't, and all of that. All right? Undermining your business potential to increase its profitability because you do not know how to navigate financial instruments. So I'm going to go through a couple of things here. It's one thing to access capital. It's quite another to leverage capital in a smart way, to ensure that as you leverage capital, it is income producing assets and not a liability. Only yesterday I had a healthy conversation with my son. We went to town to purchase a new computer. And we having the conversation, are we purchasing this computer as an asset or as a liability? He said, no, this is an asset, because this computer will be used to generate graphic designs. It will be used to generate video content. It will be used to support in social media management. So it's going to cash flow. And this is how you have to be thinking. You're not buying a computer as a liability. And very often you take a debt and the debt becomes a liability because you're making an emotional decision. In business, you want to know that you're making a business decision. What is the difference between assets and liability? So when you take a debt, you must have a clear mental picture as to how to leverage this into income producing assets. You want to know this. So it's not enough to know I want to access and you're accessing. You need to understand smart capital leverage, because if you do not understand smart capital leverage, you could end up buying a bad debt. Again, this is one of the reasons, and all of this is in the book. In making any business decision, you want to make those decisions based on data. There are many rising stars in business that are starting a business, and you make that decision to start based on emotion, not on data. And what do I mean by this? Very often when we talk to our clients, we ask who you're targeting. Everybody, practically impossible. What's the size of your market? I don't know. So if you don't know the size of your market, you don't know the potential of your market to cash flow. That means you're guessing. You might be expecting to cash flow $1 million, but the market that you're in can only cash flow $20. But you don't know that because you're emotionally involved. Competition is not allowing you to get in. The market realities is not allowing you to position your MVO, your minimum viable offer, in front of your minimum viable MVTM, your minimum viable target market, so you can cash flow maximize, because you're making an emotional decision. So we talk about a concept about research. You want to know who is your ideal client. You want to know their pain points. You want to know the size of your market. You want to know how to access your target market. You want to know that your minimum viable offer, or most viable offer, is reaching an immediate and urgent need. You want to know that your ideal client, they have the ability and willingness to invest in you. Many businesses, you can't answer this. rising stars in business. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing 20% fail in the first year, 50% fail by year 5, and only 10% survive after the 10-year life cycle. Because when you take money and you don't have this information, it becomes a liability and not an asset. Our role is to ensure that you have the kind of information so you can make better business decisions. So we look at 3 things so far: financial capital portfolios, how to access smart capital leverage. Now there's another concept that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about debt mitigation, because these are all ways in which you can bootstrap your way to success. You can reduce your cost of capital when you understand how to mitigate debt. And let me give you an example of what I mean by debt mitigation. Now, let us suppose that you take a debt of $100,000. The life cycle of this debt is 30 years. The APR, or annual percentage rate, is 10%. What does this say to you in financial terms? These 3 things: the principal balance, $100,000, the life cycle, 30 years, the APR, 10%. In financial term, what is it saying to you? And many of the rising stars in business that we're interfacing with, they are not able to make these type of calculation. But let me explain this to you. A $100,000 in principal balance, interest rate of 10% over a life cycle of 30 years means that your debt cost is $200,000. Your principal balance is $100,000. That's the money that you're borrowing, but the cost for the capital is $200,000. I'm not here to say if this is good or bad. You're accessing capital, you're leveraging. The important thing for you to know here, one of the important things for you to know here, is how to optimize this debt above the cost that you're going to pay for that capital over the life cycle of that debt. If not, it becomes a bad debt. That's one. The other thing that you need to understand is how to manage your life cycle, because if you're able to reduce the life cycle, you by default, you will understand something about reducing the cost of capital. What if you're now able to reduce the cost of capital from $200,000 to $100,000, so you have $100,000 savings over this life cycle? How much can you do with $100,000? $100,000 multiplied by, that is split by 5, can perhaps give you an opportunity to invest in additional income producing assets because you have a savings. 100,000 savings is more money that you can leverage into the business or into other positive income streams. So understanding debt mitigation is part of the financial management ecosystem that you need to understand, learn, apply, and master. If you don't know it, it makes sense to ensure that you have a financial expert on your side that can help you navigate this process, so you're able to reduce the cost of capital, free up more capital for your business, free up more capital for smart investment, and you can smile on your way to the back because your business is now more successful. So you're bootstrapping your way all the way up because you understand financial instrument. But once you break through this bootstrapping process, you understand smart capital leverage, you understand smart capital, mitigation, and throughout this entire cycle, you can save money, you can make money, and there's an opportunity to leverage money to grow your business even faster. So I trust that these nuggets that I've left with you here today, it is really jerking you to move in the right direction. Again, it's no harm if you don't have all of this body of knowledge, because it takes experts many, many years to get this body of knowledge and to help you to learn and apply it. So you don't feel any way if you don't have this body of knowledge. But guess what? I want you to feel bad if you don't have it and you're not taking steps to build healthy, productive relationship with mentors, the right coach, the right supportive community that can help you understand this business ecosystem and help you to fast track your path to success. All right? You can fast track your path to success by having great mentors on your side. So
All right.
Lex, all to you, my friend.
Yes, yes, man. That was great information, man. We got a lot of knowledge from what you just said, and definitely look forward to seeing you again. And what's the best way for people to contact you? Social media or website?
Yes, we have the website, which is Pitch Deck, PITCHDECK, dash in the center, 101.com. If you go to that website, you will be able to make contact with me. My social media links is there. Once you get to the website, you can navigate it and you can definitely find me. And our team.
Definitely. Again, everybody, thank you, Mr. Gary Thompson, for that great information. And again, genius is coming. And I'll see you on the other side.
Okay, my friend. Take care.